sign. You're free and welcome to do so. Let me ask you a question this morning. In the book of Genesis, do we read about Abraham's walk with God, or do we see God accomplishing his purposes through Abraham? Which way do you read that? Is it a story about Abraham and Sarah and their journey and having a son? Sons as Abraham? Or is it God fulfilling his work through Abraham?
The last bit, the second one.
Yeah, the second one, isn't it? We always need to remember that the focus of the Bible is God and God's way. It is God accomplishing his will through willing, obedient, God-centered people. What would happen in this world, as is happening now, if we didn't have any government, right? You took away a government and you just said, okay, everybody do whatever you want. We would have absolute pandemonium. We must have got semi-pandemonium already, but it'd be absolute chaos, wouldn't it?
Anarchy.
Yeah, anarchy. And yet, we have God's way presented to everybody in this world, and most people turn their back on it.
Yeah.
Why do we have wars? Why do we have chaos? Why do we have illness? Why do we have sickness? Why do we have hatred? Why do we have jealousy? Why do we have any of those things? Because people aren't walking God's way. And yet people will blame God. And God says, well, wait a minute. I gave you your free will. You're choosing to live this way. As we've talked about recently, the essence of sin is a shift from a God-centered to a self-centered life. When the focus is on me, I'm liable to be proud, I'm liable to be whatever, and sin. Remember how we spoke about David's ministry and how it stopped as soon as he became self-focused. Remember we talked about his sinning. In Matthew 16:24, Jesus says, then Jesus said to his disciple, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. So we talked about discipleship a few months ago, and we talked about what it was like to be a disciple. Well, the first thing about being a disciple is you need to be a disciple to someone. We follow Jesus. Paul confirmed this in Galatians 2:20. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Paul really rounds this out. He says, well, I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. Why? Why am I able to do this? Because I acknowledge what Christ has done for me. He is a great leader. He's a sacrificial leader. He's not just a demanding leader that wants to lord it over me. So I follow him. The essence of a Christian life of ministry is the dying of ourself and turning to God and saying, God, you are God. I will honour you as God. And I will let you reign in me. When we live God-centered lives, things get accomplished. I was looking at some of those film clips up there, and they had Mother Teresa, etc. up there. And I was thinking, what a wonderful lady who accomplished so much, and she held no real possessions herself. She gave everything over to God. Look what she accomplished. God can accomplish exactly what he wants through you and me and through this church if we turn to him and not to ourselves. You know, to live a God-centered life is to see the world from God's perspective and not from our own. So I liken it like this. God looks down on all that he has created, and he continues to love it no matter what. We are part of his creation, and we don't continue to love God's creation no matter what. So we need this paradigm shift. We need to see things from God's perspective. Instead of seeing what we want to see, we need to see what God sees. And that takes a change of mind. Remember we talked about that with David? A change of mind, and a change of direction, and a change of heart. And I have to really stop and think about this. You know, it's amazing that when God wants to do something in the world, He takes the initiative and He comes and He grabs somebody and He says, I want to use you. For some divine reason, God has chosen to involve His people in His work. You and me, others in churches, other people out there, to accomplish His purposes. Now, to some degree I find that amazing because as God, as all-knowing, all-powerful, ever-present, surely He could do all of these things Himself. Does He really need Lou to do something? He could do it Himself. But He doesn't do it Himself. He does it, but He uses people to do it. And I think about that and I think, well, why does He involve us? With all our faults, with all our deficiencies, why does God involve us in His work? And I think it's for our benefit. So we can learn how to lean on Him. So we can grow our faith and our trust in Him. So we can learn obedience. So we can learn what it is to be a disciple and not just an individual, but to work with others. So we can learn about trusting in the spiritual and not relying on the physical. God's work relies on our faith. God uses our faith to complete His work. So He says, well, if you want to be my disciple, you need faith. You need to grow, spiritually grow, from babes to more mature, faithful people. I'm sure there's many other benefits in doing His work, but they're the ones that came to my mind. He wants to gather people around and He wants them to grow spiritually. I want to give you an illustration which I'm borrowing from a sermon by Jerry Flurry, who's a Baptist minister in the US. A man once stood on a soapbox at Hyde Park Corner pouring scorn on Christianity. People tell me that God exists, but I can't see Him. People tell me there is a life after death, but I can't see it. People tell me that there is judgment to come, but I can't see it. People tell me that there is a heaven and hell, but I can't see them. He won cheap applause and climbed down from his pulpit. Based on a reason and logic, what this man said sounds good to those sceptical of faith. But another struggled onto the soapbox and said, people tell me there is green grass all around, but I can't see it. People tell me there is a blue sky above, but I can't see it. People tell me that there are trees nearby, but I can't see them. You see, I'm blind. Refusal to see God at work is not the result of wisdom or enlightenment, but a simple spiritual blindness. So if I reverse that, if you can see God at work, you have a spiritual enlightenment. God wants us to have the spiritual insight. He wants us to have this spiritual enlightenment as His disciples. But it needs us to respond in the way that He wants us to respond. You see, many will and try to rationalise what God is. And you can rationalise away God, because if you live in the physical world and all your experiences are stuck in the physical world, then you won't feel the spiritual presence of God. You'll have quenched Him out of your life. Remember how we talked about that? But all those attempts fall short. All the things that we might try and do in this world fall short if we don't have a faith. There is no meaning or purpose to this life. There's no meaning or purpose to the work we do. You can read about that in the writings of Solomon, Where's all this going? Why do I have all these riches? What am I going to do with them all? What's the purpose of it all? To grow in faith strengthens our relationship with God. And you know what? God is a relational being, and He made us in His likeness, so we are relational beings too. So one's another reason for us to do God's work. Why does He involve us in this? Because He wants that relationship with Him to flourish. He wants us to have that relationship with Him. He values us, and He shows it through His relationship with us. We talked about last week from Psalm 103. He is the lover of our souls. That's the part of us that He cherishes more than anything else. That's the part of us that will live with Him forever in the kingdom. Look at how God has worked. When you read the Word, God was about to destroy the world with a flood when He came to Noah. And He said to Noah, this might sound extraordinary to you, but this is what I want you to do. Did Noah just decide one day to build an ark? No, God came to him and told him to build an ark. When God prepared to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, He came and told Abraham about it. God came to Gideon when He was about to deliver the Israelites from the oppressions of the Midians. God came to Saul, as we know as Paul, on the road to Damascus when he was ready to carry the gospel messages to the Gentiles around the world. God comes to people and outlines the work He has for them. They don't just dream about it one night and say, oh, I'm going to build an ark. Something tells me I should just build an ark. No other reason than that I want to. Because if there's no flood, what's the use of an ark? Without a doubt, the most important factor in each situation was not what the individual wanted, but what God wanted done. The most important factor for each of these people as they heard what God asked them to do was that they were in tune with what God was about to do. Imagine if you were Noah and you had a 5-year plan for your family. And part of that 5-year plan was, I'm going to grow all these crops. Right? So regardless of what's going to happen, I'm going to grow these crops. You blank everything out, including God, and it starts raining. And it doesn't stop raining. And you've just written yourself out of the Bible, but you've also written yourself out of God's plan. Because you weren't in a relationship with God. You weren't listening to Him. Thankfully, Noah was in a relationship with God. He was part of God's plan because he responded and listened to Him. You see, Noah wasn't self-centered. He was one of the few people there that wasn't self-centered. He wanted God to be blessing his life. It didn't matter what Noah had in his mind. It mattered that Noah was willing to listen to what God's plan was. So Noah could have said, but God, I want to get my crops ready. We can say that at times, can't we, in our lives? But you know, God, I just want to do this, and I just want to build that, or I just want to be there, and I think we could do this. And God says, but that's not part of my plan. What's the use, Clarendon Baptist Church, of having a 5-year plan if I'm going to end the world tomorrow? I'm not suggesting that's what he's saying, but as an example. We need to know what He wants, not what we want. And the danger, if we don't listen to what He has for us, is that usually the plans don't go anywhere. In fact, they can be harmful. And then, when they are harmful and things turn all about on themselves, we usually turn to God and say, hey God, can you fix this? Have you ever done that? In Psalm 81, 13 and 14 it says, if my people would listen to me, If Israel would follow my ways, how quickly I would subdue their enemies and turn my hand against their foes. So if we do make a mistake, if we do fall out of tune with God, if we do not listen to Him, the only way to correct that is then to go back to Him and say, God, I'm not asking you to fix the mess I've made. I'm just asking you to tell me what I'm supposed to do. Let me get back into your plan. I got an overhead for my favourite. And I got to say, I've been doing a bit of this lately. I've been thinking about, sometimes I lie awake at night and I ask, where have I gone wrong? And a voice says to me, this is going to take more than one night. I think about what we haven't been able to accomplish, thanks Jen, in the last 8 years. And I think, well, God could have done wonderful things in this church in 8 days or less, 8 minutes. And I think, well, maybe God, somewhere in our psyche and our desire to serve you, we've had this burning need to do something for God. You know, we want to please Him. Get rid of that.
I can't tell you, you're in control.
Oh, there you go. We want to see results, we want to see progress, we want to see growth, don't we? So we plan and we scheme. And we decide on this and we decide on that. But have we given ourselves every chance to hear Him in doing that? I just wonder how much prayer as a church we have committed to together. Remember we talked about prayer and leading of the Holy Spirit through the Word of God. I wonder just how much prayer as a church we have committed to together. You know, we don't consistently pray together as a church. I wonder how much we've studied together the Word of God, apart from on a Sunday morning. How can we hear Him if we're not all reading and contemplating the same Word together? How can we hear Him as a church? You know, not everyone in this church is even in a small group. The truth is that God wants us to adjust our lives so that through Him we can achieve His will. But there's a step in there that's so important. We need to adjust our lives. Just like David had to get back on track and adjust his life. I had a horrible thought I was preparing this message. What about if I've been so busy planning and working for God that He can't even use me? What if I'm so busy with ministry things that I don't have time to minister to the ones right around me that God wants me to minister to? What about if I've adopted a human perspective and translated that or overlaid that on the church? You know, in the GM we had, there was talk about a group of people to be with me and to reflect on the ministry work here on a regular basis, and we haven't done that. And I was thinking as I was working through this, I'm trying to do this by myself, but I don't think that's God's way. We need to see as God sees things. Too many times we dive in and try and fix things. And all we do is do more damage than we started. We need to know what God is about to do. When God called His prophets, He always had a twofold message. The first was, call the people to return to me. In verse 8 we heard it as, hear me, my people. Then if the prophets failed to respond, they needed to hear the second message. Let them know that they are closer to the moment of judgment they have ever been. In verse 12 in our reading, so I gave them over to their stubborn hearts to follow their own devices. it's so important that the prophets understood what God was about to do. Just as we talked about, there was no benefit for Noah to have his own plan when the floods were coming. We need to prayerfully, with the Word of God and under the Spirit's guidance, as a church, ask God to know more about His agenda for us. As a church, for our community and for our nation. Then we need to obediently adjust our lives to what God asks us to do, so that He can move with His plan forward. Not our plan, but with His plan forward. You know, God's not going to give us a detailed schedule. He's not going to tell us about everything. He's not going to tell us all the hows, the whys and the wheres. He'll just give us one step at a time, and that's all we need. In fact, we'd be frightened if we had more than that. At Clarendon Baptist, and I really mean this small congregation, ageing and in some ways tired and fragile, I firmly believe that there are things that God wants to be done here. There are things that He wants to happen in the lives of people. I think about Abraham and Sarah. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. But we could put a limit on God's plan. Well, who am I to put a limit on God's plan? Suppose God wants to achieve wonderful things through you. He comes to you and He talks into your life through the Holy Spirit, through His Word, through an answer to prayer, through somebody else. Well, the first question is, are you praying about that? And if you are praying and He does come to you, what would be your response? If you're self-centered, if you're thinking about yourself, you go, I don't think I can do that. No, I'm not trained for that. I've got things to do. I don't think I'm capable. You see what happens when you put a focus on yourself? You put a limit on God's plan. Suddenly there become a whole list of reasons why God's got the wrong person. And you need to stop and think. God, the perfect, the one who cannot make a wrong judgment, the one who cannot make a mistake, has got the wrong person? Really? Is that what we're saying? Moses tried to do that, didn't he? He said, oh God, I can't talk like that, I can't do that. And yet he still led God's people out of Egypt. God already knows what you can do. You don't. God knows what I can do. I don't. He knows everything. And He wants to do things for Himself through His willing people. Think about this. What would have happened if Jesus had said to God, I am so busy being such a great witness to the people, and I'm preaching these great sermons. Did you hear that one about the Sermon on the Mount? Lord, that was fantastic. I got thousands of people there, and and I fed them with loaves and breads and fishes, and God said, no, I want you to die on a cross and save the world. What would have happened if God had said that to Jesus, and Jesus said, no, your plan's wrong? Listen to Jesus' reply to God as He prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, as related in Matthew 26:42. He went away a second time and prayed, my Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done. May your will be done. All the way through Scripture, God takes the initiative. Jesus was God's perfect initiative for us. When God comes to a person, He always reveals Himself and His activity. He doesn't just say, fall off a cliff. And He always offers an invitation. An invitation is for you to change your life, to adjust what you're doing. Whether you like it or not, if we want to be involved in God's activity, we need to be ready to make those changes in our lives, including how we do church. None of the people that God ever encountered remained the same after that type of encounter with God. They made major adjustments in their lives. Think about Noah, Abraham, Moses, David. Think about anybody you want who did God's work, and you'll see that every one of them had to make adjustments in their lives. And you think about David, who we've been looking at so often. He went from being a shepherd to a king. That is a pretty major adjustment in his life. You can ask, how do I believe, how do I live this God-centered life? How do I know what God wants me to be involved in? That's a really good question. That's a question I ask myself quite often. And we'll go back to where I started today. It begins with being God-centered and not self-centered. It begins with trusting that it is God who works in you, both to will and to do for his good pleasure, as we looked at in Philippians 2:13. It's believing that. In every situation, God demands that you depend on him, not on a method, not on a plan, not on a scheme. They're all men things, people things. God says, I know you operate in a physical world. I know you know little about the spiritual world. That's where faith comes in. Our contact with God is spiritual, and it's about that spiritual relationship. The key is the strength of our relationship with God. If you want to be part of God's plan, it starts there. I'll read to you from this book. And it's a very short synopsis of a wonderful worker for God. You've heard of him, no doubt, George Muller.
Oh.
Yeah?
Wonderful.
George Muller was a pastor in England during the 19th century. He was concerned that God's people had become very discouraged. They no longer looked for God to do anything unusual. They no longer trusted God to answer prayers. They had so little faith. He's got in brackets here. Doesn't that sound like many of our churches? God began to lead George to prayer. George's prayers were for God to lead him to a work that could only be explained by the people as an act of God. George wanted the people to learn that their God was faithful, prayer-answering God. He came upon the verse in Psalm 81:10 that we read earlier. Open your mouths wide and I will fill it. George began to seek God's provision for his work in a way that God would be pleased to provide. God began to lead George in a walk of faith that became an outstanding testimony to all who hear of his story. When George felt led of God to do some work, he prayed for the resources needed, but told no one he needed. He wanted everyone to know that God had provided for the need only in answer to prayer and faith. During his ministry in Bristol, George started the Scriptural Knowledge Institute for distribution of Scripture and for religious education. He also began an orphanage. By the time of his death, George Muller had been used by God to build 4 orphan houses that cared for 2,000 children at a time. Over 10,000 children had been provided for through the orphanages. He distributed over $8 million that had been given to him in answer to prayer. When he died at 93, his worldly possessions were valued at $800. How did he know the will of God? The following is George Muller's description of his approach. I never remember a period that I ever sincerely and patiently sought to know the will of God by the teaching of the Holy Spirit through his instrumentality of the Word of God, but I have been always directed rightly. But if honesty of heart and uprightness before God were lacking, or if I did not patiently wait upon God for instruction, or I preferred the counsel of my fellow men to the declarations of the living Word of God, I made great mistakes. What did George Muller do? He sincerely sought God's direction. He waited patiently on God until he had a word from God in the Scriptures. He looked to the Holy Spirit to teach him through God's Word. He mentioned some things that led him to making mistakes. Lacking honesty of heart, lacking uprightness before God, impatience to wait for God, preferring the counsel of men over the declaration of the Scriptures. Church, will we live God-centred lives? Will Clarina Baptist Church truly be Christ-centred? Will we be willing to see what God is doing around us and join with Him, even if it means making changes in our lives? I can't answer these questions for any of you. I can only answer them for myself. But I know this, that what God wants to get things done in His way, right here in this community. So I certainly hope we can. Amen. Let's sing Blessed Assurance and benediction.
Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine, earth salvation, purchase of God. Praising
Lord, we pray that we can truly look to you, that we can understand that this walk on earth is not about the physical but about the spiritual. Our destination is a spiritual kingdom. But while we're on this earth, Lord, show us and help us to understand what it is to be your disciples, to know your way, to look to you and to be working within your will and not our own. Help us, Lord, to have a change of mind and a change of heart and a change of direction. And as a church, to be obedient to your calling, strengthen our faith to do your work and your will. We pray in Jesus' name.